Young Jamie Edgeworth, Part 1. Jamie was born to Lord James and Lady Miranda Edgeworth in 1817. He was named after his father, but his mother called him Jamie, and it stuck. He had vague memories of his mother. She held him and seemed to love him, but when he was around 2 or 3 years of age, she left the family home, and his father told him that she had gone away with a gentleman friend. The little boy sat for weeks and months, watching through various windows, hoping that she would return for him. He was not happy without her, although a nurse was employed to look after him, and she was kindly enough, but not like his mother had been. As he grew, he got used to being without her, and also got used to the stream of ladies that his father would bring home. Some of them were kindly to him, others ignored him, as did his father. They were always short of money, and Jamie would learn later that his father's gambling habit had a great deal to do with that. He remembered the Edgeworth jewellery regularly being taken to the pawn shop, and if his father had a win at the tables, it was redeemed and placed carefully back in the family safe. On occasion, Lady Fawkes would send for Jamie to stay with her family, and Jamie and her eldest son Anthony became firm friends. Her younger son Hector was pleasant enough, but he had his own circle of friends. The Fawkes household was just an hour or so away from the Edgeworth estate, and it seemed that Jamie spent most of his time with Anthony, and Lady Rose Fawkes could see that his father was not a good influence on his son, so she made it her mission to treat him as one of her own. She was not an overly kindly lady, but she felt that it was her duty to keep Jamie safe. There were times when the Dowager Lady Redfern visited the Fawkes household with her son and daughter, and a friendship developed between Jamie, Anthony, and Binkie Redfern. They ignored Bella Redfern most of the time, but there were occasions when they played tricks on her, much to her annoyance. Binkie's real names were Bartholomew Ian Nicholas Kennedy, hence why he was known as Binkie. Luckily, Jamie's grandmother had put aside money specifically for his education. She had seen that Jamie's father was following in his father's footsteps at the gambling houses, and also following the streak of bad luck that they were always blaming on everyone but themselves. The Edgeworth estate was beginning to suffer through lack of funds. The concentration was placed on a couple of farming areas, and they managed to make enough to keep the estate from falling into rack and ruin. The lands in Ireland were left to their own devices, and the house in Belfast needed renovation, but Jamie's father had no money to modernise it, and nobody had visited it for some years. Jamie had a tutor during weekdays, and at weekends he either visited Anthony, or at longer breaks he spent time at the Redferns. He never knew whether his father was at home or not. There were times when he bumped into one of his father's lady friends. He just got used to seeing different ladies wandering around the house, and was always relieved when a carriage arrived to either take him to Anthony's or to Binkie's. Quite often the three boys made their own make-believe world, with Anthony and Jamie always overpowering Binkie for some pretend misdemeanour. They all went to university together, and while Anthony and Jamie were inseparable, Binkie did start to have his own set of friends, although none were ever invited to his home. When they had completed university, Jamie began to see just how run down the Edgeworth estates were, and he started to take an interest and put into operation some inexpensive improvements. He also began lecturing his father on his lack of responsibility, which created many arguments between them. Jamie could see the lure of the gambling tables. He also frequented them on occasion, but he never bet more than he was prepared to lose. Anthony and Jamie frequently travelled to Belfast. Jamie put into operation decorating 1 or 2 of the rooms in the Belfast Edgeworth house, although he always stayed with Anthony on the Fawkes estate, and whilst there he met Evelyn Carstairs. She had known the Fawkes family and Lady Redfern's family. When Jamie informed his father that he was often in the company of Evelyn, his father asked if she was from a wealthy family. "They are not poor, but they are not titled," commented Jamie. "I presume that there would be a dowry of some kind," said his father. "I haven't got that far with the association. She's from an upstanding family, so I am informed. Lady Redfern and Lady Fawkes seem to think that she is quite an asset, said Jamie. What does your friend Anthony think? Binkie is a little preoccupied to have an opinion, said Jamie's father. It was a strange comment from his father, but it was soon forgotten. Anthony seems to have found the love of his life, said Jamie. She seems very nice, but her father likes the bottle a little too much for my liking. Are you becoming a little stuck up, Jamie? Asked his father. No matter. It's better that you are that way than act like a low-born farmer's son. I find it difficult to understand why you are such a snob, especially as I have seen the men and women that you associate with, said Jamie with some aloofness. We are both snobs, Jamie. It's the way that we are, and it is nothing to be ashamed of, said Jamie's father. Every time Jamie was either at Anthony's home or Binkie's, Evelyn had also been invited. She and Diana, Anthony's fiancée, seemed to be very close friends. Initially, Jamie wondered whether Lady Redfern was attempting an association between Binkie and Evelyn, but Binkie showed no interest in the lady. A marriage had been arranged between Bella Redfern and the Duke of Berkshire, who was many years her senior. Bella took the situation with fortitude. It was expected that a union between title families should take place. Jamie and his father were invited to the wedding, although his father declined on the grounds of ill health. He had been suffering bouts of pain over the past years, which was not helped by his excessive drinking. Once again Jamie was paired with Evelyn, and of course Anthony was with his family and Diana. It will be your wedding next, won't it? Said Evelyn to Diana, and Jamie noticed a tension in Lady Fawkes whenever the wedding was mentioned. But Anthony and Diana were much too in love to notice the obvious disapproval. Diana's father was also in the group, and he smiled inanely at everyone in sight, whilst helping himself to whatever alcoholic drink was available before the waiters had a chance to refill his glass for him. Jamie did wonder whether Lady Fawkes would have preferred to have Evelyn as a daughter-in-law, but he knew that there was nobody like Diana for Anthony. Hector was showing a dislike of Evelyn, but Jamie put that down to his youth, and the fact that he was going through a stage of disapproving of most things in life. A few months later it was Anthony and Diana's wedding, and Jamie was his best man, with Evelyn acting as bridesmaid. It seemed that once again Jamie and Evelyn were being thrown together. You should make an honest woman of that Evelyn, said Jamie's father on one of the rare occasions that they were together. I have not dishonoured her, father, snapped Jamie, but maybe you are right. It is about time that I married and ensured the family heritage, such as it is. We are not in a position to command a union between another title family and ours, so perhaps Evelyn would be a suitable match under the circumstances. From what I understand, she would be extremely happy with a title when I am no longer around, said Jamie's father. It will be a good arrangement for you both. Her family has money and you will eventually have a title, and hopefully she will provide you with an heir. Yes, all very suitable. I suppose I had better travel to Belfast to meet her family, said Jamie with very little enthusiasm. In our position we have to do things that are not as we would wish, but you can always take a mistress to lighten your situation, said Jamie's father. That's how most of our class cope with our marriages. Anthony and Diana are not like that, said Jamie. That is a true love match. That is very unusual in title families. No doubt that will change over time, and once Anthony has an heir, said Jamie's father. Jamie looked at his father and had to admit that he was probably right. So he made the decision to go to Belfast and offer for Evelyn, knowing that it would not stop his way of life. His proposal to Evelyn was readily accepted, and even his father made the journey to Belfast to join the celebrations. Jamie gave him credit for not immediately asking what dowry would be expected of the Carstairs family. Anthony, Diana, Hector and Rose Fawkes attended the celebrations, as did Wendell and Amelia Fuller. Also there was James Marchant and his son Frederick. Jamie immediately warmed to Wendell and Amelia. James Marchant was a little more aloof, but as he had recently lost his wife, that was to be expected. When will you be marrying, Jamie? Asked a friendly Amelia Fuller. Oh, we have plenty of time to organise that. There is no rush. "We are enjoying making all the suitable arrangements," said Jamie, and Evelyn appeared to agree with that. It was obvious that she was in no hurry, and that she was enjoying the freedom that being engaged to a future lord provided. "We are having a small soirée next week," said Amelia. "I will send invitations if you would like, Jamie." "I would like that, Amelia, if I may call you that," said Jamie. He really did like the Fullers, and he decided that spending more time in Belfast would be enjoyable. "Perhaps Anthony and Diana would also like to attend," said Amelia, and off she went to see Anthony and Diana, who said that they would be in Belfast for another fortnight, so they would be delighted to join them. "Will your father be with you for very long?" asked Wendell. "No, he's returning to Surrey the day after tomorrow, but I will see if he would like to stay longer," said Jamie. But the answer was that his father had urgent business that he had to attend to. Of course, Jamie knew that the urgent business was attempting to gain finance from the gambling tables. Wendell then introduced James Marchant and his son Frederick to Jamie, and Frederick and Jamie seemed to enjoy one another's company. Jamie's circle of friends in Belfast was beginning to grow, and he knew that if he wanted to spend more time there, he would have to make his house a little more habitable. He could not keep staying with Anthony, as he knew that he would not want to spend so much time there as he had his estates in England to watch over. Money was scarce, but Jamie found enough to make his house less derelict, and he managed to gain a housekeeper who was happy to supervise what was needed. She was a Mrs. Trent, and Evelyn felt that she would be very adequate, although Jamie thought that more staff would be necessary. A year passed, and Jamie and Evelyn were still just engaged. "It's about time that you got married," said Jamie's father. "I suppose so, but Evelyn is quite happy as we are," said Jamie. I think the time has come," said his father. "We do need an heir." "I'm going to Belfast this weekend. I'll discuss it with Evelyn," said Jamie. "Are you staying at our property in Belfast?" he asked. "Yes, it's much more habitable now," said Jamie. "How have you managed that? Have you some money that I don't know about?" said Jamie's father. "I had 1 or 2 wins at the tables whilst I was in Belfast, so I immediately put it into the property," said Jamie. "I didn't know that you gambled," said his father. "I gamble no more than I can afford, unlike you," said Jamie. "I sometimes go with Frederick Marchant and 1 or 2 others, but not on a regular basis. Frederick is not quite so lucky at the tables, and I do hope that he is not getting in deeper than he can afford." "Well, that's down to him," said his father. Said Jamie thoughtfully. Jamie had an uncomfortable trip to Belfast. The sea was choppy as it would be in March. He was pleased to set foot on dry land. Wendell was talking to someone on the docks, and when he caught sight of Jamie, he made his way towards him. "It's good to see you again, Jamie," said Wendell. "We will see you this evening at James Marchant's birthday party. I know that you and Evelyn have been invited." "I didn't know that there was such an event tonight. No doubt Evelyn would have told me when I saw her," smiled Jamie, who really felt that the last thing that he needed was to attend a birthday party for someone that he hardly knew. But of course he was Frederick's father, so he would not decline the invitation. "Yes, Liza has been insistent that Frederick invite some of his friends to the party," said Wendell. "Liza?" said Jamie. "Ah, yes, Frederick did say that his father had married again. He did not say that Frederick had voiced a detrimental opinion on his father's remarriage to a child, and he hoped that it would not be an awkward evening." "As you've only just arrived, I'm sure you'll be excused for being late. Liza wouldn't take offence anyway," said Wendell, which led Jamie to believe that Liza was liked by the Fuller family. Evelyn was waiting for him when he arrived at his house, and she confirmed that they had been invited to James Marchant's birthday party. "Do we have to go?" he asked, and Evelyn replied that it was giving Frederick some support, as he was not happy with his situation at home. "Have you met Marchant's new wife?" asked Jamie. "No, but I have been told that she looks a little like I do," said Evelyn. Jamie smiled and said that she must therefore be quite good-looking. He was not prone to making light-hearted conversation, and Evelyn just looked at him in surprise. Evelyn took a carriage home, and Jamie arranged to pick her up later that evening. Mrs. Trent had taken his baggage to his room and unpacked it for him. He did not have a valet with him, but he was quite capable of dressing himself for a birthday party. Mrs. Trent had prepared a light supper for him. She was turning out to be very efficient, and Jamie liked her. He did not normally form an opinion on staff other than a personal valet, but he felt confident leaving this woman in charge of the house in his absence. Jamie and Evelyn did arrive late to James Marchant's party. Liza and James had already greeted their guests and had moved into the ballroom. It was a very lively party, much to Jamie's surprise, as he knew that James was in his late 40s. Frederick made his way towards them and guided them over to his father, who greeted them warmly. "My wife is somewhere here," smiled James Marchant. "She seems to be in demand this evening, but I'm sure she wants to meet you." "Ah, there she is." Jamie looked across the floor and saw someone with her back to him. James called her, and she turned and smiled at him, and then caught sight of Frederick's guests and slowly moved towards them. Jamie drew in his breath, blinked, and swallowed. She was the most perfect-looking woman that he had ever seen. His heart missed a beat as she drew near and looked up at him with the most beautiful bright green laughing eyes. "You must be Frederick's friends. Welcome, Mr. Edgeworth and Miss Carstairs. I'm so pleased you could make it this evening, especially as you must have had a difficult journey, Mr. Edgeworth. I know that the seas have not been kind these last couple of days," said Liza. Jamie found that he was stammering his response, and he finally managed to say that he had been on worse journeys. "Miss Carstairs, I understand that you live fairly close by. Do you travel to England much?" asked Liza. "I haven't been for a while, but when I do, I normally stay with either Lady Redfern or Lady Fawkes. Do you know them?" asked Evelyn. Liza smiled, recognising an unfounded jealousy in Evelyn, who was trying to put Liza at a disadvantage. Jamie frowned at Evelyn's obvious name-dropping. "No, I haven't yet had that pleasure. But I have met Anthony and Diana Fawkes at one of the Benedict's functions," said Liza brightly, and Jamie could see that she was amused by Evelyn's snobbish jealousy. "Well done, Liza," thought Jamie. "Perhaps Evelyn has at last met her match." Jamie spent the rest of the evening watching Liza dancing with one partner after another. He couldn't take his eyes from her, which was noticed by many there that evening, including both James and Evelyn. James enjoyed Liza being admired, and he especially enjoyed that her eyes picked out only him from all the people there that evening. He had absolute faith in her. Wendell moved over to Jamie and said, "As you can see, there is nobody in this world for Liza but James. They seem to be a match made in heaven." Jamie took his eyes from Liza for a moment and looked at Wendell, realising that he was telling him to keep his distance from Liza. "James is a very lucky man," commented Jamie. "I don't think that Frederick feels the same," said Wendell. "Well, he's young, and I suppose it is difficult for him to have a stepmother who is younger than he is," said Jamie. Said Wendell. "I understand that Frederick sometimes goes to the gaming houses with you." "Yes, on occasion. Why?" asked Jamie. "I don't think that he is as skilled as you may be, Jamie," said Wendell. "I never gamble more than I am prepared to lose. I presume that Frederick is the same," said Jamie. "Yes, I presume so," said Wendell, really knowing that it was not the case, and Jamie was realising yet again that Wendell was giving him a message which was asking him to keep an eye on Frederick's gambling habits. Liza was now dashing around and guiding everyone to where the food was and ensuring that they were all well provided for. Frederick was scowling at Liza, but cheered up when he caught sight of Liza's companion, Kate. Evelyn came over to Jamie and hissed at him. "Have you finished making a fool of yourself, ogling Liza in that way? You have embarrassed me in front of all these people." "Don't be ridiculous, Evelyn," said Jamie, with some annoyance. "Of course I haven't been ogling anyone. It's in your imagination." Once again Liza turned and faced Evelyn and Jamie, and he could not help but draw in his breath. He tried to think what it was that he felt, and decided that it could not possibly be love. Love was something that he had never experienced in his life, which was why he found it difficult to recognise. "Has Frederick been looking after you?" Liza asked them. "Yes, he has. Thank you, Mrs. Marchant," said Jamie. "Oh, please, call me Liza. Everyone does," smiled Liza, and Jamie's heart missed a beat again. "What magnificent emeralds," said Evelyn, looking at Liza's necklace. Jamie frowned at Evelyn's crass comment. They were a present from James today. I told him that it was his birthday, not mine, but he said that they suited me," smiled Liza. "They do," said Jamie. "They are very beautiful. They match your eyes." "Thank you," said Liza, and then she was off to make someone else feel comfortable. "They are beautiful. They match your eyes," mimicked Evelyn. "Really, Jamie, you're acting like a lovesick boy. It was a mistake to come here this evening." "Do you think so?" said a rather aloof-sounding Jamie. "I'm pleased to meet some of Frederick's friends," said James, who joined Jamie and Evelyn suddenly, which made Jamie jump. "I do not see him as much as I would like. As you know, I am often at the Edgeworth estate in Surrey, but I do try to get here frequently," said Jamie. "Of course, I see Frederick more often, as I live here permanently," said Evelyn. "Do feel free to call any time," smiled James, who was well aware that Jamie seemed to have amorous feelings for Liza. "We will, thank you," said Jamie, and once again his eyes followed Liza everywhere that she went. She was now talking and laughing with a young gentleman, and Jamie felt a pang of jealousy until he realised that it was Wendell and Amelia's eldest son, Edward, who could be no more than 14 years old. Jamie could see that he too was mesmerised by her, although he knew that it was no more than the crush of a callow youth. Liza was then whisked onto the dance floor by someone who was somewhat older, but she still looked as though she was enjoying the experience, and Jamie could see that the gentleman felt that he was the only one in the room. Jamie could also see James watching her, and she looked up and caught his eye, and Jamie saw the love that she was showing James. He was so envious. To have a woman looking at a man that way was quite unnerving for Jamie to witness. "You must be very tired, Jamie," said Evelyn. "Nobody would mind if we left now." "No, I'm quite awake, Evelyn. I obviously have got my second wind," said Jamie. If anyone had caught sight of Evelyn's face, they would have seen a look of total hatred towards Liza. But there was someone who saw it, and that was Wendell. "What's the matter, Wendell?" asked Amelia. "You look concerned." "Somebody ought to tell Evelyn that she has nothing to fear where Liza is concerned. Liza wants nobody but James. Evelyn's engagement to Jamie is quite safe," said Wendell. "If looks could kill, Liza would be dead and buried by now. Jamie is very foolish, as he has made it obvious that he is enamoured of Liza, and he has only just met her this evening. I hope he is not going to be a nuisance." "I wouldn't worry, Wendell," said Amelia. "James and Liza will know how to handle it, should it become obvious." "You're right. They will handle it if necessary. This is a lovely party. Doesn't Liza look nice tonight?" said Wendell. "What do you mean, nice? She looks absolutely beautiful, and so happy, and so does James. It's so nice to see him this relaxed." "I believe it's the first time that he has let his feelings show," said Amelia. Jamie stayed until the bitter end of the party. Evelyn tried to appear happy to do so, but her patience was wearing thin, and in the carriage on the way home she turned on Jamie and told him exactly what she thought of him. He was shocked that she could be so loud and bordering on uncouth. He was pleased to drop her off at her home, and the carriage returned him to his house, which was relatively near to James and Liza's home. Sleep eluded him that night. All he could see were Liza's laughing green eyes, and he kept telling himself that he could not possibly have such strong feelings for someone that he had only met that evening. He pushed the thought that it might be love to the back of his mind. Instead, he was determined that when the time was right, he would become Liza's lover. James Marchant was 30 years older than Liza, and in the fullness of time she would need a younger man. He did not think that it would be when James died. He thought that it would be just when Liza needed someone like him. He did not want to think about Evelyn. Any small feelings that he may have had for her were now dead, but he was engaged to her, so he had to think of a way to get out of that situation. He felt that if he gave it time, Evelyn would want to break their engagement herself. He would treat her with indifference, and he smiled as that was the way that he treated her now, and she him. Jamie was sitting and toying with his food at breakfast the morning after James's birthday party. He had plans to visit some of the farms on his estate and see if there was a way that production could be improved without spending too much money. He wondered whether he should visit Evelyn, but decided against it. If he ignored her, perhaps she would go away. He need not have worried, as she did not contact him at all that day. His other thought was to go to the Marchants' house and thank them for a wonderful party, but he felt that he could be in danger of showing his feelings for once in his life. Instead, he would write a note of thanks and hand-deliver it, and maybe he would be invited in for tea. He was disappointed in that plan, as neither Liza nor James was at home when he called. He did, however, bump into Frederick, who informed him that James was at work and Liza was visiting Amelia with Kate. "Are you going to the game tonight?" Frederick asked. "I wasn't planning to," said Jamie. "Oh, I thought that Evelyn said that she was going to be there," commented Frederick casually. "Well, I'll see if I can make it," said Jamie. It concerned Jamie that it seemed that Evelyn was beginning to seriously gamble, as it appeared natural for Frederick to say that she could be attending the club, but her family had money, so she should not find herself in trouble, as had Frederick's father. Hopefully Wendell was worrying unnecessarily. Frederick went on his way to his home, and Jamie continued to his. And as he was making his way up the steps to his front door, he looked across the road, and in the distance he could see Evelyn walking towards him. He sighed and hoped that he was not going to be subjected to another tirade. As he was about to place his hat on the hall table, he suddenly thought that Evelyn never walked anywhere, if she could help it. She always took a carriage, no matter how short a journey she was taking. He grabbed his hat again and returned to the top of his steps and looked across the road. There was Liza pushing her way through a small crowd, followed by her friend Kate and young Edward, who had obviously been commissioned to see the ladies safely home. Jamie smiled, as he could see that young Edward was taking his duties very seriously, and Liza and Kate were being kind enough to allow him to think that he was doing a good job. Jamie bounded down the steps and negotiated the traffic, ending up just as Liza and her companions arrived opposite Jamie's house. "Good afternoon, ladies and Mr. Fuller," said Jamie, raising his hat to them. "Good afternoon, Mr. Edgeworth," said Liza. "I understand that you live nearby." "Oh, please call me Jamie. Yes, my house is just across the road. Perhaps one day you would like to take tea with Evelyn and myself. I would say today, but Evelyn is not with me," said Jamie, who realised that he was beginning to ramble a little. "That's very kind of you," smiled Liza, and Jamie could sense that they were going to continue on their journey home. "I have just called at your house and delivered a note, thanking you for a very pleasant evening yesterday. But I can thank you in person now," smiled Jamie. "I'm pleased that you enjoyed it," said Liza. "We must be on our way, as I do like to be home by the time that James comes in from work. Good day, Jamie, and thank you for your kind words. I'll just walk with you to your door, although I can see that young Mr. Fuller is doing an excellent job seeing you safely to your home," said Jamie, and he could see Edward would have preferred to be alone with the ladies. "Are you going to be in Belfast long, Mr. Edgeworth?" asked Kate. "Just a couple of days, and as I said, my name is Jamie," said Jamie. Kate nodded her acknowledgement, and before long they had reached the house, and they said goodbye. Liza added that she hoped that he had a safe journey back to England, as they may not meet again before he left Belfast. He left them, but he could not resist turning to watch them making their way through the front door and disappearing into the house. He wondered how he could possibly have thought that it was Evelyn making her way down the street. As far as he was concerned, they were like chalk and cheese. Jamie strolled to his house and was greeted by Mrs. Trent, who asked him if he would be out that evening. He thought about it and decided that he would join Frederick, but it would not be until quite late that evening. He wanted to ask Frederick a little more about Liza, as he had now met her and her friend, but that was not to be, as when he arrived at where the games were taking place, Evelyn was already there with some of her friends. They cordially greeted one another, and then the ladies made their way to their own tables, and Jamie saw Frederick and one or two others that he knew, and they also settled at the tables. Jamie lost a little that night, and stopped playing when he had lost what he had been prepared to lose. Frederick also lost, but despite Jamie suggesting that he finished for the evening, He was determined to carry on, as he was convinced that his luck was going to change. A cry of triumph went up from the tables where the ladies were, but it was not from Evelyn. She was sitting looking quite depressed, as she had lost a great deal that evening. "I think that the time has come for us to leave," said Jamie to Evelyn. "Yes, luck has not been with me this evening," said Evelyn rather quietly. "That seems to be the same for me also, and I think that Frederick is beginning to get in deeper than is wise," said Jamie. "That is not your problem, Jamie. You don't have to worry about the Marchant household. They can afford it," said Evelyn. "I trust that you are not worried about your losses," said Jamie. "Well, I wish that the cards had been with me tonight," said Evelyn. "Have you lost much tonight?" "No, I only bring with me what I am prepared to lose, and I don't play beyond that. I know that it doesn't please some people, but I have seen how my father has gone down that slippery slope, and I am determined not to follow in his footsteps," said Jamie. Evelyn looked up at him and commented that he was in danger of becoming rather boring. "Well, I would much rather be boring than lose my shirt, as my father has done on numerous occasions," said Jamie. "Have you got over your infatuation of yesterday evening?" asked Evelyn. "What do you mean?" asked Jamie with some annoyance. "Don't treat me like an idiot, Jamie. You know what I mean," said Evelyn. "I am not infatuated by anyone, Evelyn," said Jamie. "I watched you fawning over Liza Marchant last night, much to my embarrassment. Many people must have noticed it. How do you think that made me feel?" said Evelyn. "Nonsense," said Jamie. "It was a delightful birthday party, and I wrote a thank-you note and dropped it off today on behalf of us both. I doubt that you thought of doing that." "No, I had no intention of thanking them for inviting us to an evening where that Liza made eyes at you all the time," said Evelyn. "How was she today? No doubt you were invited in so that she could carry on batting her eyelashes at you." "You are being ridiculous, and as it happens nobody was at home, but I did manage to bump into Liza, Kate and young Edward Fuller as they were on their way home, and no, I did not get an invite to join them. I'm surprised at your attitude, especially as last night was the first time that you had met them," said Jamie. "And it would be the last time, thank heavens," snapped Evelyn. "Well, if I get invited to another celebration, I shall attend with or without you. Don't forget that you are talking about Frederick's family," said Jamie. "She's not," said Evelyn. "She's a scheming minx, as her parents must have also been. Frederick is not happy with the situation, as you well know." "You are entitled to your opinion, but it is not the same as mine, and I would therefore ask you to keep such thoughts to yourself. I am shocked at your jealous vindictiveness." "It is not what I expect of you," said Jamie. "I presume you have means to get to your home. If not, I will make arrangements for you." Evelyn was looking quite shocked at Jamie's attitude, and then she realised that they had not been as quiet as they should have been over their differences, and they were being observed by many, not least Frederick, who was looking rather embarrassed as he realised that the argument concerned members of his family. He was going to have to set Evelyn straight, as he knew that what she thought about Liza was very far from the truth. He knew that she and his father were very happy together, although he still had to come to terms with the fact that she had taken his mother's place. Jamie looked around and ushered Evelyn out of the room, telling her that her jealousy had created great embarrassment for them both. He arranged for a carriage to take her home, and then donned his hat and coat and walked the distance to his home, managing to cool his temper by the time he reached his front door. Mrs. Trent came into the hall to greet him, but with one look at Jamie's face, she decided not to ask if he'd had a good evening. Instead, she just asked if there was anything that he needed. "No, thank you, Mrs. Trent. I'll just make my way to bed," said Jamie. Jamie spent another uneasy night. His argument with Evelyn had unsettled him, not least because he realised that some of what she had said was true. He knew that he was experiencing an unrealistic emotion towards Liza, but he could not help his feelings. He made a decision that night. He knew that he and Evelyn were totally unsuited, and he was going to have to risk the wrath of her family and break their engagement. He was also going to have to acknowledge the fact that he could be accused of breach of promise, which could end up in a court case, although he felt that Evelyn would not wish to have such publicity, as it would damage her chances of a good match in the future. He knew that his father was counting on the finance that Evelyn could bring to the family, but Jamie knew that money wasn't everything, and if he worked hard, in time he could make the Edgeworth estates profitable. "Oh, Liza," he murmured, "what have you done to me?" Jamie need not have worried, as Evelyn arrived early the following day and told him that she felt that it would be better if they parted company. "I see," said Jamie. "I hope that you are not blaming Liza Marchant for your decision. That would be very unfair of you." "She is in part to blame, but I know that she is unaware of it. No, I believe that we need some breathing space, and hopefully in the fullness of time we will settle our differences and get back together again," said Evelyn. "We do seem to rub one another up the wrong way," said Jamie. "That has only happened recently," commented Evelyn. "Have you informed your parents of your thoughts?" asked Jamie. "Yes, they are not too happy about it, but they are far more unhappy about my gambling losses. I finally had to admit how deeply in debt I was into the gambling house," said Evelyn. "I have had to close my account, so I'll have to find an alternative means of entertainment." "I had not realized that you were in such difficulties. As you know, I am not yet in a position to cover such losses," said Jamie. "My father has suggested that I spend some time with friends in France. He did at first suggest that we immediately arrange our marriage, and I'm afraid that I told him that at that moment you were the last person that I wanted to marry," said Evelyn. "My father then calmly said that I had better tell you how I felt, so here I am. I dare say that your father did not really expect that you would break off our engagement, but I think that you are right that we need a little time apart, and you going to France will give us that. When you return, we will see where we go from there," said Jamie kindly. "You are much kinder than you often appear," said Evelyn. "I will not announce that we are no longer engaged. Perhaps we can see how we feel when I return from France. I'm not sure how long I shall be away, but it will probably be around 3 months. My parents would be pleased that we have not completely finished with each other. They would have felt the embarrassment more so than I, as I would be away in France." "Yes, we'll see how things are when you return," said Jamie, who felt a great deal of relief, but perhaps when Evelyn returned they would both be ready for marriage, and he would have got over his infatuation with Liza Marchant. "You asked about Frederick Marchant. I'm afraid he is in very deep debt to the gambling house. You know that they will contact his father for payment if he can't come up with the money, although I believe he does have a way out of the problem," said Evelyn. "I just thought I should tell you, as you showed an interest. It was Wendell Fuller who was asking if I knew what Frederick's situation was, and I'm afraid that I am certainly not in a position to help him. At least his father is not without money, although I suppose he doesn't wish to involve his father," said Jamie. "I think I will cancel my account with the gambling house, as I have seen how my father's excesses have brought our estates to an all-time low. I'm just beginning to get part of them up and running again. I'm not going to end up like my father, or my grandfather for that matter. As I said, I believe Frederick has a way out of his situation," said Evelyn mysteriously. "Goodbye, Jamie. I will write to you and let you know when I shall return from France. I'm sure we will be able to sort out our differences when I return. Take care of yourself." Jamie sat down and breathed a sigh of relief. He found it difficult to believe that Evelyn had the same thoughts that he had. They were both saving face, as the engagement was still in place. But with Evelyn going away for a while, it may be that she finds somebody else, and if not, they will discuss what is best when she returns. Don't miss the second part of young Jamie Edgeworth's early years. If you are enjoying these stories, please like, share and subscribe to this channel.